It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul and Mary Jo are here, and it's deja vu all over again. The EU looking at Microsoft's licensing agreement, saying they're anti-competitive. A tiny little Windows on ARM PC, Paul says you should not buy, and an upcoming Windows 11 security feature that requires a PC reset. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 772, recorded Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. Exploit Wednesday. This episode of Windows Weekly is brought to you by Acronis. Keep your digital world safe from all threats with the only cyber protection solution that delivers a unique integration of data protection and cybersecurity in one. Acronis Cyber Protect Home Office, formerly Acronis True Image. Go to go.acronis.com/WW. And by Intel, orchestrated by the experts at CDW to deliver increased performance with the built-for-business 11th Gen Intel Core V-Pro processor. Learn more at cdw.com/Intel Client. And by Collide. Get endpoint management that puts the user first. Visit collide.com/WW to learn more and activate a free 14-day trial today. No credit card required. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Windows, you dozers. Let's get ready to rumble with Mr. Oh, I can't say that's copyright. Let's get ready to rock and roll with Mr. Paul Thurrott. Mr. Thurrott comes from Thurrott.com by way of leanpub.com and joins us, of course, every week for the last God knows how many years. It's been more than a decade, since Vista.
Yep.
Since before Vista.
Should know this off the top of my head. It was September, October 2006.
Sounds like a kind of a John Cougar song. It was September in 2006.
Right.
That's Mary Jo.
The name of the song, September-ish.
September-ish 2000. All I have to do is twit.tv/WW1. Yeah. Somebody said, you mean Mary Jo hasn't been on forever? Mary Jo Foley's also here from allaboutmicrosoft.com, her ZDNet blog.
I'm sure
it feels like forever.
It has been a long time. Yeah.
More than 10 years.
Yeah, September 28th, 2006.
Tooth extraction is taking a long time.
So this show is now officially 15 years old, going on 16.
Wow.
You are 15, going on 16.
Leo, what was the date?
That was September 28th, so make a note of that so we can have a part T. The reason I'm thinking along these nostalgic lines is Sunday is the 17th anniversary of TWiT.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, time flies when you're talking Windows.
It does.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So, let's talk Windows.
Yeah.
What's new? Microsoft once again in the spotlight.
Good news, Leo.
Yes.
It's like riding a bike, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're back.
We're back.
In antitrust
Not in a
trouble.
good way.
Oh.
Yeah, not in a good way.
But who's saying that? Is it a government or just competitors?
So it's the EU doing some investigation around complaints from competitors and now customers weighing in.
Now customers
as well.
too, right? That's right.
Yeah. Right. So this, what's funny? This all dates back to something that happened in 2019. Microsoft changed some licensing terms around what it means to bring your own license of software, like Windows Server, SQL Server, Windows Client, and Office Client to other clouds. So, we know you can run all those things on Azure, and they cut you deals through their Azure hybrid benefit. Like you get a good deal if you run Microsoft software on their cloud. That makes sense. But what they did in 2019 was make it a lot more expensive in many cases to run it on competitors' clouds. And at the time, they're like, you know what? If they want to do that too, they can do that. If Google wants to, make it so you can only run Google software on their cloud, we don't really care. And at the time, people were kind of trying to figure out, what are the repercussions of this? And now, 3 years later, we're starting to see people whose contracts are coming up for renewal, figuring out what happened. They're like, wait a minute, I didn't notice this in 2019 because my contract wasn't up, but now my contract's up and I can't even run Office in AWS in some cases, or I can't even get Windows to work right in Google Cloud, and I want to be able to do that virtually and not be prohibited. So the way that people are going about this is AWS, Google, their partners, and now their customers are complaining publicly to the regulators. Yeah.
According to Bloomberg, Amazon and Google both went to Microsoft first and said, hey, you need to change this.
Yeah.
And
I remember, yeah. Yeah, in 2019, they were publicly complaining, like saying, hey, this isn't cool. Like, we feel like Microsoft's doing something illegal here. And Microsoft's like, ha-ha, who cares? Goodbye, you know?
Yep.
It wasn't even entertained as like a possible violation, right? Here's the most interesting thing. So Bloomberg got Brad Smith, who's the head counsel at Microsoft.
Yep.
And they called him and they said, hey, like, this is going on. So here's what Brad Smith's canned quote is to all of us. We're committed to listening to our customers and meeting the needs of European cloud providers. While not all of these claims are valid, some of them are, and we will absolutely make changes soon to address them.
Wow.
Yeah. I think the changes are going to be like, oh, I'm sorry. We meant this to be more expensive and or impossible in all cases, not just in some. Our mistake.
I'm curious how they're going to do what they're going to do here, and how they're going to do it. But we'll see, I guess.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're one of the customers out there or a partner who's been having problems because of these changes in licensing, you may get some relief. It's still up in the air what that'll look like and if it'll be retroactive or how it'll look. But I'm going to be super curious to see what they actually do to try to head off an EU
Well,
complaint.
we're not going to see the belligerent Microsoft of the early 2000s for sure.
Definitely not. No, we are not.
And, you know, EU moves slowly for sure, but I expect them to. I mean, just the fact that he made that comment is amazing. They'll probably try to get ahead of this.
I would think. Right. So the old Microsoft back in the original antitrust days was like, we don't care. You know, too bad. We're doing what we want to do. Brad Smith lived through that, right? Brad Smith was part of the antitrust trial. He knows, like, that doesn't really work so well, especially in the EU. And I'm sure he's going to try to be much more conciliatory and say, okay, sorry, partners, we didn't mean to hurt you. Like, we're trying to fix it. Blah, right.
Actually, you know, maybe this was Brad Smith. There was a period of time, Microsoft had been really belligerent with the U.S. DOJ, and that had gone very poorly. They did the same thing with the EU at first. They got, at the time, record fines, later broken by Intel, but actually since reinstated because Intel got their money back and had to make these product changes, et cetera, et cetera. But there was right at the end of all this, Microsoft basically capitulated unexpectedly. I think it was the year Windows 7 was coming out. And they said, all right, fine. We will separate Internet Explorer from the operating system. This thing we had 10 years ago we said was impossible.
Yeah.
We will let people remove it. We'll let PC makers replace it with the browser of their choice. We will, you know, and I wonder if Brad Smith, I wonder if that wasn't the beginning of the Brad Smith era in the sense that he was running the show legally, right? Because was it Bill Newcomb was the Microsoft?
It was. Yeah.
Bill Console, for the antitrust stuff. Yeah. So I wonder if that was the end of Bill Newcomb and the beginning of Brad Smith. I wonder, I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, it could have been. That could have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was definitely a difference in tone and approach and so
Yep.
Yeah. I always joke. I'm like, Brad Smith. I figure this guy's gearing up to run for public office at some point, right? Because of the kinds of causes he espouses, the way he conducts himself, how what kind of things he's chosen to focus on. I'm like, at some point you're going to hear Brad Smith's running for Congress, right? Like that's not going to be a surprise.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think it will.
Sure.
I don't think it will.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And he's also just kind of risen through the ranks at Microsoft as I don't know what he is now, a president or probably
he's
a senior
vice chair.
He's
the vice
he's a big
chair.
But he's risen up the ranks. Like he's not.
Yeah.
Usually with the legal guys, you don't hear about them unless there's a problem. You know.
Yeah.
But this guy,
he's a public face. He's intentional,
and he's become a big public face of Microsoft. Yeah.
He has. Yep.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
It is interesting.
It'll be interesting. I know. I'm going to be very curious to see how they try to quote fix the licensing thing, because a lot of the things they did were to try to not only drive growth of Azure, but also growth of Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365. Like they wanted that to be the way that people ran their software on clouds, right? Like they're like, yeah, that's how we're trying to guide people, get them to go that way, right?
Right.
So yeah, we'll see.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Nothing more to say about that. We'll just watch and wait.
Watch, wait, and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just going to go do a little potpourri, I guess, of Windows 11 things and so forth. Microsoft has no plans, says Paul Thurrott. No plans.
Well, no plans, says Microsoft. So they
we're
the
talking
Windows
about
11,
the taskbar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Microsoft has plans, just not about moving the Windows 11 taskbar. Yes.
Different plans.
Different. Yes.
Yeah. So there was an event last week, as you know, and we talked about that, and Microsoft talked about things they're going to add to Windows 11, and it was kind of light on the type of information that most enthusiasts were looking for, and anyone who cares about the product in general, I guess, are enthusiasts, who would like there to be things that used to be in Windows 10 that are not in Windows 11. And there's a whole list of those things, but one of them is the ability to move the taskbar location, which we know from, actually, I think Windows 7 days, because Sinofsky used to talk about this kind of data point all the time. Almost nobody does this. This is not a common activity. But the Windows 11 taskbar is completely redesigned. And based on a discussion with Brad, who works at Starduck, who is implementing their own taskbar with Start 11, talking to Raphael, talking to anyone who knows anything about the innards of this thing, the feeling is that they had to redo the taskbar from scratch in order to center the icons. This thing is like this giant spaghetti code thing that's grown and grown and grown over time. They've had features come and go over the years. It's just this big thing. And they're like, we'll just start from scratch. We'll make it look like the way we want to look. And then, we'll try to implement the most important features that people want. And they implemented like 2 of them. So one of the big issues with Windows 11, of course, is that there's all these taskbar features and other features that are not present. So when that event kind of came and went, and they never addressed any of that stuff, meaning this, bringing back features or regressions from the past, there was an AMA with a lot of the people who appeared in that event. And they knew these questions were going to come in. And of course, the very first question was, when are you going to let's change the taskbar? And I don't want to make fun of an individual. I don't mean it like this, but I don't like what I'll call fake compassion thing, where it's like, we know that people care so much about this stuff, and we're not doing it. That was basically the way it came out. The excuse was that there were challenges in bringing the taskbar to different sides of the screen. There's a reflow of work, and then apps have to do something to understand the environment, and it's just a big problem. That's absolutely not true. Apps don't have to do anything. The system has to do it. This comes from the operating system. Apps don't need to adapt to this. Apps just work. That's how this works. But the long and the short of it is, this individual said that when they look at the data, what they see is that nobody uses this. and it was said slightly contortedly. It's like, when you look at the data, we know there's a set of people that love it the way that we could move it. It's like, that's not what the data shows. But at the moment, they're going to focus on the things that they hear more pain about. So my recap of that is, Microsoft broke the taskbar, and then people complained, and they looked at all the complaints, and they said, well, we'll do the first couple. And because the taskbar location complaint is not near the top of the list, they're not even thinking about that. So I don't know. I have
questions for you on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So one is, did they also not commit to doing anything else in the taskbar? Like, what about the right click thing in the taskbar?
That didn't come up
back?
specifically. You know what this is? This is like levels of outrage, right? So
okay.
Remember when Windows 11 was coming out, before in the 10 seconds before we knew that the big issue was going to be hardware requirements.
Yeah.
I had this conversation with you where I said people are going to freak when they find out that in Windows 11 Home, they're going to have to sign with a Microsoft account. And we can debate whether or not that would ever have been the case, but that was completely overshadowed by this
Right.
miscommunication on the hardware requirements.
Right.
I think this moving the taskbar thing is that very vocal, very minor part of the user community that wants it. So they're small, but they're loud. And they're loud because they're enthusiasts, and they're the people kind of championing the platform. And you can't equate, if you can't equate a score to that one person, the same a score you would equate to my mother or a normal person off the street or somebody, because those people just don't care about anything. But that's what Microsoft is doing. They're looking at, that's what telemetry data is. I mean, they just look at the data. They're like, yeah, who cares? And I think that's we talk about this kind of thing a lot now because that's the way Windows has evolved, unfortunately. I think it's a mistake to ignore that part of the community.
So my other question is, and maybe I'm misremembering this, but I thought they had said publicly they were going to add this feature back in to Windows 11.
I don't remember. So here's what I do know.
I know.
It is possible today in Windows 11 with a registry key addition to put the taskbar at the top of the screen.
Okay.
So that suggests that they could add that feature in the UI pretty easily.
But they don't want anybody to do it.
They don't want anyone to do it, but they could add it. It could be a power toy, it could be a third-party utility, whatever. What's completely missing is the ability to put the taskbar on either side of the screen. And then this is that whole, like you mentioned, like, is this bigger, or had they mentioned we're not going to do anything else? We know, I think we know in the dev channel that they're looking at the ability to change the size of the taskbar, another feature that was missing. They've never publicly addressed, to my knowledge, the right-click thing.
Right. They say all you have to do is right-click on the start button, right? And you'll get a similar.
Yeah, but it's not exactly the same.
It's not the same. I know.
Honestly, the right-click thing is a lot like the default app situation, although that's being fixed, which is that stuff is, a lot of it's still there. It's just harder to get to. And, I don't know. I think the direct interaction model, which works everywhere else, makes sense. Where you right-click on a thing and you say, I don't want this thing here, get rid of it, whatever the command is. They got rid of that for some of the built-in buttons or icons or whatever. You have to go to taskbar settings inside of the settings app. I don't know. This came up, and I don't know. The rest of it, I don't know. I mean. Yeah.
Well, the good news is, I think, as you mentioned when you started talking about this, Stardock has a program for like $6 that lets you move the taskbar, right? So if you're one of these people who really wants to use it, right? If you really want to move this taskbar, give them $6, right?
Right. So there's a whole, like I said, off the top of my head, I'm not going to be able to blurt out every single feature that's missing in the Windows 11 taskbar. The Windows taskbar in previous versions supported the notion of ungrouping icons, for example. So if you had two word icons, instead of there being one icon, they would be two, and they would spread out and give you room so you could see the name of the document and everything. Start 11 has added that feature back in certain situations. They have actually decided that they need to re-implement the taskbar themselves to do this stuff as well, because the Windows 11 taskbar is so constrained functionally that it's not even worth working off of. So they're actually doing it themselves, just like Microsoft is, right? So it's possible. It's kind of a weird situation, but it's true today and possible for the foreseeable future that theirs will have more of that functionality that you expect from Windows 7, Windows 10, whatever, than will Windows 11 natively. And that's certainly the case today.
Yeah. I remember you and Leo used to say to me, Android and Windows are a lot alike in terms of they're for people who like to configure things the way they want them.
Customizability,
Right. And now it feels like Windows is going away from that. And I wonder if it isn't because Panos so much wants to emulate what Apple's doing with Windows and with Surface.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Right? They're just like, let's see how Apple does it. Okay, let's do that. Right? It feels like that anyway.
The Surface business was built out of a desire to emulate the hardware and software integration thing that Apple was doing with the Mac and, of course, with the mobile devices as well. And I think what they realized over time was, now if we have the same team running this, we can further that to the software. I mean, I get it, but I think the success of Windows, is multifold, but one of the main reasons I think is this customizability, this they used to always talk about how diverse their audience was, right? We're building a product that has to work for all these different people. And I think what they found is that, or what they think is, Apple has 1 billion users too. And no one's really worried about stuff not working over there. So our audience will do that too. But I think their audience is, not older is not the right term, but they've been around, they've been using it longer, and they have expectations from the past. And I think a lot of the things that people do with PCs are what we would call like legacy workloads or whatever. They're productivity focused tasks. And you can't just take stuff away. That's not, I don't know. It just seems insane to me.
Yeah.
What about somebody, Doug M in the chat room on the IRC, saying maybe put it in Power Toys or something? Like, make it more accessible, I guess, you know.
I always felt I always feel like they should have a Windows for normal people and Windows for enthusiasts. It feels like there's two different things that people want and need, and it's like I know they're trying not to do that, but I really feel like there's different expectations there, right?
Yeah. There's I suppose if you take a product and you take features away from it, like they're doing in Windows 11, and then you've created this kind of servicing baseline, you know. But if you do have some Windows Live Essentials type thing, or Power Toys, like Leo said, or whatever it is, to bring back those features for the people that want it, that's something that the people, if they want it, they can seek it out and get it. It's not part of Windows, so it's not supported as Windows, which won't matter to these people. It's okay. That's an okay model, you know, but that's not that's not really what's happening, right? Like I think this is very reminiscent of Windows 8. You know, we're going to just plow ahead, get rid of stuff that you expect and use every day and want, and do so with no explanation whatsoever. Brag about how well received it was, how high the customer satisfaction scores are, and then bring in a bunch of emojis and other nonsense features. Which is that based on telemetry data? Like one of the things they were talking about in this AMA was like, hey, we have this feature now when you pull the keyboard off of a tablet, the taskbar squishes down. Like that's brand new. Like the old taskbar didn't do that. It's like, oh, so you can add features that aren't based on what anyone has ever asked you for. So what do you like? How do you make judgments on this stuff? Like why is that more important than the feature that people already use the product rely on? I don't know. I don't know that this
because they develop Surface and Windows together, and they've got some group of Surface users who care about it.
Surface has the keyboard that goes click. Remember?
Yeah.
Click. That really was perfect.
Yeah.
It is the case, though, that it is a 1% of users that want to do all this customization.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we talk about the tyranny of the default.
It's a small number.
It's a small number.
It's a small number.
So
small but loud.
But when you add configuration choices, it adds to complexity.
Yeah, it does.
So I can understand. I'm just trying to channel Panos here. What you might want to do is be opinionated.
Yeah.
And say this is, it's an opinionated operating system, and this is our opinion of what it should look like. And most people will then say, okay. I mean, that's the Apple way, right?
Yeah, it's worked for Apple. I mean, not that people don't complain on the Apple side, and not that there isn't a rich ecosystem of third-party apps that add features and do things that aren't in the operating system. I'm sure there is. That's fine. It's just we've never done it that way in Windows. Well, we've done it that way once in Windows, and it backfired completely, almost destroyed the platform. And they apologized and then added all the features back and released Windows 8.1 and 8.1.1 and Windows 10 because that was such a disaster.
Yeah. Windows has always been you can configure it. You can make it the way you want it to be. But I bet their telemetry also tells them nobody does that.
And my point is telemetry is not enough information that you cannot base any decision on just telemetry, but is literally what they do.
Yeah. And then, of course, the 1% are the loudest users, and they're let's say they're also probably fairly important because they're the ones that people ask, well, what should I do or what should I buy?
Yeah.
So they're the influencers.
That's what I mean. Like you can't rate that person on the same level as a normal user who doesn't care about this stuff,
right?
Because those people are not influencing anyone else. Yeah. I feel like we've lost track of that part of the equation too. I mean, there was I had forgotten about this, but I had gotten some very early Windows 8 product planning documentation. And it specifically called out the important role that enthusiasts played, even though they were the minority. And even that team, which I didn't think did a bang-up job exactly, recognized that, at least internally,
Yeah. Although then they made a bunch of choices around Windows 8 that they knew people were going to scream about, right? Like not making it keyboard friendly first, even though that's the way most people use the operating system. They're just like, too bad for them. Everybody's going to touch, right? So, well, right? And I'm like, wait, you knew everybody was going to scream.
It's hard to remember or understand the deep inbred Apple envy that existed at Microsoft at that time.
That's true.
Apple was a company and came out with the iPod and the iTunes Store and destroyed all of their partners-focused strategies and everything. They destroyed the Zune. They came up with all those anti-Vista ads that they did when they were advancing the Mac very rapidly. And they talked about it incessantly at all their trade shows. Microsoft took years to come back with, finally came up with the Mojave project and I'm a PC and all that. And then, the iPhone came and completely recast personal computing. And then they announced the iPad, and they had been pushing it to Apple PCs to a completely disinterested audience for 10 years by that point almost. And they sold 15 million copies the first year, as Steve Jobs said in 2011, more than every tablet PC combined that year.
Wow.
So by the time Windows 8 came, no one was listening to logic. We have to meet them where they are. Full screen touch interfaces. We're going to have our own PCs. Screw the partners. It was the stupidest insanity. But I mean, it was like getting punched again and again in the face.
There's also a damaging side effect to this: is you switch, you swerve back and forth. That really, I think, causes loss of confidence in your customers.
Yeah,
that's right.
They don't know what to expect. And I don't think
would
it's
it be
good
every other one?
Yeah,
like
that's
this is going to be all touch one now, and then the even number ones.
Don't. Only the.
Well,
even.
You know why? Because it's not just uncertainty; it proves that you're not leading anything. You're just responding.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what they were doing. They were just reacting to everything Apple was doing, and I think we need to look. Whatever anyone thinks of Apple, just at least agree that they're unique. That you can't.
They're opinionated.
You can't look at what they're doing and say, do that, we'll be successful. It doesn't work for anyone else.
Apple's backtracked on some things, but it's rare. Much rarer.
For sure.
Yeah. I have to play because, of course, Gilbert Gottfried passed away yesterday, and I have to play a video from another time Microsoft backtracked. Do you know what this is going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be a Clippy.
It's going to be the farewell to Clippy, which you can't play anymore unless you have the Clippy, the Flash player for the Clippy website. But I'll play it for you from YouTube. That's Clippy blinking at you.
Why, hello there. I'm leveraging real-time, legacy-compliant collaborative micro-branding to complete the most important project in my company's history. As soon as I finish this proposal,
It looks like you're writing a letter. Oh! Would you like help?
You little metallic
This is from Microsoft.
Right.
Try rephrasing your query. For example, print multiple copies of a file will lead to...
Stop! Listen. Next to Microsoft, Bob, you are the most annoying thing in computer history.
You know Bob. He's a friend of mine.
Get lost! Didn't you hear? Office XP has put your skinny metal butt in the digital dustbin. Just look.
And then, of course, a tour of features. But
Take that thing anymore.
But the best part is at the end.
I'm going to need you
Gilbert
to back out of the cubicle.
Yelling.
Oh, really?
Well, listen.
Office XP, eh? Well, we'll just see about this. Hey, you! It looks like you're writing a letter. Would you like... Beat it.
The best part. Hey, you!
I was at the event where they put him out to pasture.
Yeah.
Actually, I was sitting next to Jeff Bezos.
There's really? Wow.
Yeah,
really?
At the Office XP launch, yeah.
Boy, now I've got a lot of questions, but just to finish the thought, we will, of course, miss the gravelly voice, Gilbert Gottfried, and nobody better to voice Clippy than Gottfried.
And by the way, who was responsible for Clippy?
Oh.
Our friend Steven Sinowski.
Oh, yeah. That's partly the swerves in the road come from changes in leadership.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Yeah.
That's really the real place they come from.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought I'd play that in honor of dear old Gilbert.
They lost their minds so many times. They put that stupid dog thing in Windows XP. Remember?
Yeah,
that search bar?
Yeah.
Bye-bye, doggy. Yeah.
Rover.
Hey, I want to pause for a moment for a message, a station identification, as they used to say. This is actually a product you guys are, I'm sure, well aware of, Acronis. It's a kind of legendary name in the Windows space. And you all know Acronis True Image, which is, after Norton went away and Ghost went away, this was that became the premier imaging product. Well, Acronis has now branched out, expanded Acronis True Image into something they call Acronis Cyber Protect Home Office that is designed to protect you from all the bad things. Hard disk failure, yes. Coffee spills, sure. We've had a few of those in here, I might add. Cyber threats, yes, even cyber threats. With Acronis Cyber Protect Home Office, everything you need to safeguard your device. Data protection integrated with cybersecurity. Windows, Mac, Android, and iOS, by the way, which is nice. You get quick backup and recovery. Of course, that's what Acronis is famous for. Never lose precious files or expensive applications. And when you need to, you'll be able to restore system to either the full system or individual files. It's what we would use back in the day on Tech TV and elsewhere, because we knew if the computer died we had to be able to get it back up and running within a commercial break. And Acronis True Image, push the button, and you've got the whole thing back. Or you can just do individual files. So it's great for backup and recovery. You back up what you want, where you want. You can back it up locally. What we didn't have the advantage of then, and I'm glad we have it now, is the Acronis Cloud, which means you can weather the worst storms. Even if the whole place burns down, you've got an image of that hard drive, an image of that system safe in the cloud. You can restore your entire system to the same hardware or new hardware. It's the best way to set up a new computer. Create direct cloud-to-cloud. This is you'll like cloud-to-cloud backups of Microsoft 365 accounts. So instead of downloading it and then uploading it, boom, right across, including, by the way, your entire Outlook.com mailbox, your OneDrive data can all be imaged, backed up by Acronis Cyber Protect Home Office. And you still get that cybersecurity component, which stops any cyber attack from damaging your data, your applications, your systems. Block attacks in real time before malware, ransomware, or cryptojackers can cause damage. And, sometimes people say, well, I'm worried about imaging my system because I don't want to image any malware on it. Well, that's another reason you want to combine these together, because it will also, with its flexible antivirus scan the image and protect you. And having it all in one place makes management easy. Reduce the cost, the complexity, the risk of using a variety of incompatible solutions. You can simplify your protection by managing everything through a simple, single, intuitive interface. You'll spend less time on the computer with a Acronis 2-click setup and the set and forget options. That's actually pretty important because, people forget to back up, to protect. This is automatic. Rest assured, your entire digital world is protected with Acronis Cyber Protect Home Office's integrated protection. More than just a backup, more than just an antivirus. Peace of mind knowing your devices and backups are protected, your data is safe, accessible, private, authentic, and secure. So keep your digital world safe from all threats with the only cyber protection solution that delivers a unique integration of data protection and cybersecurity in one package. Acronis Cyber Protect Home Office. You may have known it, formerly known as Acronis True Image. We know the name so well, right? And this is one of the best products out there. The best. I'll have to say it. The best. Go to go.acronis.com/WW for more information. Visit go.acronis, acronis.com/WW. Somebody said, I'm glad you're doing ads for Acronis because now I know how to pronounce it. I asked him. I've always said Acronis, but I'm glad to know I was right. Go.acronis.com/WW. Thank you, Acronis, for supporting Windows Weekly and all of us Windows users for all these years. Mac and Android and iOS now, too, which is great. Windows updates. Anything new? Yesterday was Patch Tuesday, but we also have a new build, right?
Yeah.
Yes, today we got a new dev channel build. It's,
And beta. Dev and beta.
Beta. Oh, dev and beta. I'm sorry. Yep, you're right.
Yep.
Dev and beta.
Dev and beta. Not much new, though, right?
Yeah.
They're trying out some new stuff with making Windows Spotlight on by default. I think that's the image, right?
Excuse me. That's the image you see on top of
with the
lock screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're bringing that to the desktop, which, by the way, obviously, right? Those images are often beautiful, gorgeous.
They are. They're really nice. Yep.
By the way, if yesterday was Patch Tuesday, you know what we call today?
Weeping Wednesday.
Actually, Steve Gibson had a T-shirt yesterday on the show, Exploit Wednesday.
Yeah.
There you go.
But that's not a negative. That means that that's why you want to do those patches.
Yeah, that's right.
The bad guys start analyzing those patches immediately and see if they can come up with an exploit. Patch it. Patch it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Anything else in the build?
In the build,
like a lot of fixes.
Nothing notable.
No, nothing.
But remember,
a
I mean,
lot of fixes.
I don't mean to be down on that. It's fine. Honestly, the last few builds have been kind of interesting, right? So
yeah, right.
Doesn't make sense that they're going to explode with new features every week, but
right.
Yeah, this is not one of the bigger ones for sure.
Yeah.
At the end of the post, they just say media player. We've improved the library experience and new video playback. So if you use that, they're also updating
God help you if you use this program. That's another example of. Well, no, I mean,
we've
Microsoft
incorporated WinApp visualizations in media.
No,
player.
right, exactly. This is this is very much the Windows 11 thing writ large, which is take away everything, and then drip back features from the past. And it's like, hey, remember when you could do this before? Well, you could do it again, baby. And it's like, great. I can't. There's almost no purpose to this app that I can think of. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay. What do you use for media? Actually, I'm curious. What do you use? Because people call and ask me this a lot.
Yeah, I use VLC mostly.
VLC. Oh, wow. That's a power tool. But the nice thing is that plays back everything, including streams.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's why. Because what will happen is the built-in. There's also movies and TV, right? So that before this thing, that would typically load for video. So I'm going back to a lot of old files, right? A lot of archives and things. And so older versions of WMV, AVI. Flash files like FFV, I think they're called, or whatever. Those it plays everything, right?
Wow.
So with the modern apps, it either just doesn't work at all, or won't have sound, or it will tell you need a plugin which doesn't exist, and it's like, you know what? How about you just use something that works every time?
Not the best UI.
Yeah.
I think it's fine for what I want. It's just, I don't know.
It's not the most attractive UI.
I don't like
It's
the
kind
icon.
of like Teams. It's kind of like Teams.
What do you use,
Ugly.
Mary Jo, to play?
I don't really play back media on my PC.
Yeah. Not even
I was
music?
trying to think, do I ever?
Do you play music?
Not really.
No?
No.
Okay.
I don't. I'm one of those people who doesn't like to work with music. I find it super distracting.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, never mind. I'm sorry I asked.
Never mind. Never mind.
I don't have the luxury when somebody calls on the radio show saying, "What should I use for media playback?"
I know, right?
Why would you ever want to do that? I don't know.
You know, a computer's for work, right?
Windows Media Player is still in there though, because I see it pop up
That's right.
sometimes.
Well, that's
And if you want to burn a CD or something, or rip a CD,
right.
you can use Windows Media Player.
Yeah,
That's
that
true.
still works.
Yep, that's true.
And it's there, and that's the thing. I mean, if you've got an MP3 on your disk, and you double click it, it's going to launch Media Player unless you've installed something else. So, I guess that's probably what everybody uses. But given the frequency of this question, I think it's probably something people aren't that happy
Before
about.
Windows Media Player became that all-in-one player, starting with Windows Media Player 7, I think it was, and they came out Windows Me. They had something called Windows Media Player, which was just a little window thing.
Yeah.
And that's what this new media player is like. That's where they are. They're back in the year 1999. So I guess if you wait a couple of years, this thing will catch up and we'll all be playing music from holograms and won't care anymore. I don't know. It's just, I don't understand why they're even making this app. It's crazy.
Right. Winamp is still around, so I guess,
Yeah, Winamp's,
it came back. I guess it was not around.
Sure.
And I think nowadays, honestly, most people don't play MP3s on their hard drive. They stream it from
That's right.
Spotify or
That's
somebody like that. So maybe that's...
I'm sure their telemetry data would show them that only 2% of people ever use this kind of functionality. So why the heck are they building it into Windows?
Yeah, why bother?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, you could make playlists of the, what? Like, you care enough about music that you own it, you ripped it from CD, you copied it to your hard drive, and then you want to use this piece of crap application? No. People like that have very specific needs.
That's true.
I don't understand what this is for.
That's true. I generally recommend something like Media Monkey, which will look up album and other metadata.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's kind of my go-to. Lately,
Media
Fubar
Monkey.
2000 is also very
I
popular.
hope to never, ever, ever mess with MP3 or whatever.
I know,
AAC
it's very...
metadata ever again. Ever.
Yeah, it's very 2000s. It's like... Very old school. Isn't that
It's
funny?
like, what are you doing? I'm not getting work done. That's what I'm doing. My album art is perfect on this
Somebody
one computer.
sent me, and I still owe him a thank you note. But it was the cutest thing. He bought one of those really cheap MP3 players. You know, they're like $10 on on Alibaba Express, and he put every top 100 song from 1955. Okay. Every Billboard Top 100 song, MP3, from 1955 to like 2004. I don't know why I stopped at 2004.
Maybe ran out of storage.
Maybe he ran out of storage. But there was a little mini SD in there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was very nice, and I'm thrilled. Now I have thousands of songs that, like Bobby Rydell songs, I don't really want to ever listen to. But it's, it's kind
I
of...
still have my collection. I just not going to touch it.
That's the thing. I have my collection. I have 60,000 songs or something I downloaded from Napster back in the day. But
yes, of course.
You're going to stream it.
I ripped my collection several times.
I ripped many CDs.
My CD collection.
Yep. And in fact, when I look at them, I go, oh, wow, I haven't listened to that in a long time. Bob Dylan's Biograph. Wow, I haven't listened to that in a long time.
A lot of people listening to this show are going to have like CD collections they ripped in like WMV 9 back in whatever year that was.
Then you need Windows Media Player.
I know. What are you going to play? What are you going to do with that?
Now you need it. I bet VLC would play that, probably.
Oh, yeah, easily. Yeah.
All right, sorry for this trip down memory lane.
No, it's fine.
You can now buy, says Paul Thurrott, an entry-level WOA. Congratulations.
WOA? Did I write WOA?
WOA, Windows on
mini PC.
ARM.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So remember sometime months ago, Qualcomm released a kind of reference machine for people to use as developers that they wanted to target Windows apps on ARM using physical hardware. And I bought this thing. It's terrible. It's a piece of junk. Yeah,
but it's so cute.
Oh no, this is new. So this is the second one, and it's it's the same platform. So the problem is the price is right if you don't like anything. It's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 7C based system, so it's super low end. 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of eMMC storage. Wait for it. Yeah.
But this is the kind of thing you'd Velcro to the back of a mirror or something.
Yeah.
Like it's like almost it's a step above Raspberry Pi, but below an Intel NUC.
Honestly, from a performance perspective, I bet it's a step down from Raspberry Pi.
Oh, that's not
because
so
it's
good.
running Windows, right? It's and I don't mean that. I mean
it's not designed for this.
It's a big system. That's all.
Yeah.
Compared to what this thing can do.
Got a SIM slot, which is interesting.
Yeah, right.
So you could have.
No, it has the port. The port situation is pretty good, honestly. I mean, for what it is.
How much?
Yeah, how much? $229. Huh. Sorry. Yeah, $229.
So who cares if it doesn't run well at all?
Well, it's still $200. I mean,
the dot
you
one
get better
mini
performance
PC.
running a virtual machine on a normal computer. Than this thing.
Yeah. Is the 7C designed for Windows or is it?
Yeah, so there's two levels now of Qualcomm Snapdragon chips for Windows on ARM, and this is the low end.
Goodbye fan noise, because your machine can't do anything.
I mean, if you really listen close, you'll hear the gerbil running on the wheel, but it's there's no fan.
It's not for that.
I just don't understand why anybody runs Windows on ARM still. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, this is like a project PC, so I guess.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
we're not ready. It's not ready. The hardware is not ready.
It's like the enthusiast that wants nothing to work and for nothing to be fast. It's like I'm really into cars, but I bought a bicycle.
Right.
Yep.
kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. And
by the way, a version of this running modern hardware or better hardware would be of interest.
it'd be cool.
But,
Yeah.
But
it'll be a lot more
Qualcomm prices
expensive.
their chipsets very expensive.
A lot more expensive. And you might, partly because you wouldn't have the built-in LTE and all that, the radios and everything. So Qualcomm has a SoC. That's why it's got SIM slot and antennas and all that.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a specific. It's built for a specific market, obviously.
Let's all admit we're in a holding pattern here, waiting for those.
Yeah, we are.
Next generation chips.
You know what? This is for, like, okay, a restaurant that has menus on a screen instead of on the wall, and Velcroed behind it. I'm sorry, hook and looped behind it is this little $229 box. It has to run Windows because they're using PowerPoint for the menus or something, right? Right. And it costs less than the monitor, but your menus are changeable.
Okay. I feel like there's got to be a kit PC with an Atom chip in it that would do the same thing.
Yeah, probably. You're right. Yeah,
that'd be more compatible.
My trainer uses a system called MyZone that runs on I think it's on one of those Intel. Remember, Intel made like a little stick computer.
Yeah, the compute stick. I think
compute stick. It was so that runs Windows also, and it runs on that, and it has.
He actually uses that.
Well, that's how. No, when you buy it, you buy a system. It's got a screen. You plug that in.
I don't think they've made those in years now.
Well, I don't. That's what it looked like. It might be.
You get them like on eBay or something.
All I know is. Yeah. We'll be working out. So you wear these straps, and then everybody sees their stats on the wall. That's what this thing does. It's got a attached Bluetooth thing that everybody pairs with. So when you come in, it says, "Hi, Leo," and But all I know is every once in a while, right in the middle of the workout, I need to update Windows right now. So I know it's a Windows machine.
Yep.
Oh, boy. We played the scene right from what's that? Steve Carell show that's the Space
Oh, Space Force, yes. Oh, that scene is hysterical. I would play it, but they'd take us down immediately.
Yeah, they're trying to correct the, fix the satellite or whatever, the rover, whatever it is, and they have to wait for Windows 10 to update. They're all freaking out.
Oh, it's so good. Excellent. Such a fun scene. All right. Let's talk about sleeping tabs.
Yeah, for about 10 seconds. So Microsoft Edge has a feature called Sleeping Tabs. Actually, I think Chrome probably does as well.
Firefox does this too. I think all browsers, because you have tabs that get very busy in the background, and you don't want it.
Yeah, and they're trying to keep. You're right. You're trying to improve battery life and performance, et cetera. So they have, and it's configurable and all that kind of stuff. So, starting with Microsoft Edge version 100, Microsoft basically enhanced this feature, and I can't believe I've been talking about this. 8% more tabs on average will now sleep, saving you even more resources.
With more sleep.
8%, God damn it.
That's a good number.
Each sleeping tab saves 85% of memory and 99% of CPU for Microsoft Edge. I don't know.
Now, I think you buried the lead on this story. To me, this next story is a hair on fire moment. Speaking of updating in the middle of a workout.
Oh, no, this isn't as bad as it sounds.
It sounds bad.
No, it's not as bad as it sounds.
Okay.
So last week, Microsoft had that event we've been alluding to, and there were three core areas that they talked about of updates coming to Windows 11. Productivity, management, and security. And I've now I've watched all of those things. They had the main event, they had the three breakout sessions. I since have rewatched all of them. It's brutal. Don't recommend people do this.
Wow.
But there's one of the security features that's coming in some indeterminate time to Windows 11 will ship on new computers, of course, and will be enabled on those computers. It's called Smart App Control. But if you have an existing computer and you upgrade to whatever version of Windows this appears in, this thing will not be enabled by default. And in order to get it enabled, you actually have to do a PC reset and install it from scratch. And then it becomes enabled.
The whole Windows kit and caboodle.
Yeah. So basically, Microsoft has had a lot of, we don't use the terms whitelisting and blacklisting anymore, but they basically have had technology for usually for IT pros, right? Not individuals, but individuals too, to okay or not okay applications that can run or have systems
we
for
use that.
trusting or not trusting applications, etc.
Yeah, we use
so this is just an advance on that. They already have features in Windows that do this, but this uses AI and code signing, and it literally predicts whether a process could be malicious or safe based on a variety of signals it's getting. And if it's thought to be probably unsafe, it will block it by default. But for that feature to work, it has to be integrated into the operating system at some kind of a deep level. And we're talking about science fiction anyway, because this feature doesn't exist today. And we have no idea when it's coming. So.
You know, it's funny. This was in a dev channel test build in early March. I'm looking at when I wrote about it, and I said, and by the way, it'll only work on devices that apply this build or higher via a clean install. So we already knew this was going to be that issue.
Yeah. I just thought it was kind of interesting that,
I know it is it's a little strange, right? Because they're so adamant about everybody doing everything they can to secure their PCs. And it's like, and if you want this, you have to clean install. Right?
Well, it's probably a kernel mod.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably so deep within the system that you can't patch a built system.
Microsoft has made the claim that Windows 11 is more secure than Windows 10. And I would say as of today, that claim is pretty much unsupported. But I think it's also fair to say that in a kind of a Theranos fake it until you make it sense, it eventually will be true because they're adding these other features to Windows 11 over time that ultimately will make it more secure.
One day this will be true.
Likening it to Theranos is not the most inspiring.
I think if Theranos could have kept it going, maybe they would have solved those problems.
No, they estimated about in 10 years. Yeah.
10 years, yeah. So,
but they also said they'd have it in Walgreens by December, so,
But at least they didn't test it on real people.
No, at least what? Have you watched The Dropout yet? It's so, so good.
Incredible.
So good. Oh, I don't know how true it is.
I almost feel like I know too much about this woman now.
Yeah.
I read the book.
I've read the book.
I watched the TV series.
Saw the documentary.
My wife's asking me questions, and I'm answering them all. She's like, how do you know all this? I'm like, I don't know. I live in her head now.
I'm an expert on Elizabeth Holmes. I know.
She's in jail, right? Is she
not yet. She's awaiting sentencing.
No,
not yet.
And could get up to 20 years. Sunny Balwani, her boyfriend at the time and COO at Theranos, is on trial right now.
By the way, much bigger jerk in real life than he was portrayed in the show, even though that guy didn't come off too well.
He was worse than in the show? Because he was
way worse.
He was pretty bad in the show.
Yeah, no, he was actually way worse than that.
Oh, interesting.
They didn't help. They had that guy from Lost play him. He's like a good-looking guy. A much better-looking guy than the guy in real life. It's like, what? You kind of underplayed what a monster this man was.
Yeah. Well, they had the dad from the 70s show playing David Boies, which I thought was
which is perfect.
Just exactly right.
He's great. He's great.
I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah, he's great.
We did.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. You haven't watched it yet, I take it.
No, I have not.
Yeah, well, you will.
You should.
You should.
I will.
It's really good.
I will.
Yeah, it's really good.
I needed a break after Anna. I needed.
It's very much like that, so I understand why. It's kind of the same genre.
You can't believe they got away with what they got away with for so long.
Right.
It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
I'm like, I can't watch these back to back. I need a little break.
Yeah, you're smart. Yeah, so go watch the WeWork story. Or no, maybe
another horrible one.
Maybe the Uber story. For some reason.
I looked at, here's what WeWork is. WeWork is worth a 2-hour documentary. This thing is
no, I couldn't.
5-hour episodes or something.
And I love Anne Hathaway, but I couldn't. No, and Jared Leto.
Too, but give me a break. Like that story is not that big. Like I just don't care that much about them.
Frankly, I lost steam on the Uber one as well. Just because it's like, I get it.
That's good for a podcast or a book.
Yeah.
It's like a whole multi-episode series. I just
no,
too much.
Let me see here. I wouldn't mind taking a little break right now. I'm trying to do some time management. So that we can get to the Xbox and have a lot of time there for the Xbox segment.
Actually, that's funny because we don't actually have
I'm just teasing Mary Jo. I'm just giving her a hard time. Our show today brought to you by Intel. You heard of them. Orchestrated by the experts at CDW. CDW understands to keep up with changing business needs, organizations of all sizes need to stay secure. It's kind of a drumbeat these days. Stay connected, stay protected. And that takes powerful processors built for today and tomorrow, like Intel's built for business 11th Gen Intel Core V-Pro processors. The 11th Gen Intel Core V-Pro processors provide you with the performance, security, and remote manageability needed to continually move forward and stay productive even while on the go. And of course, CDW works with Intel to provide the right technology to fuel productivity and innovation. CDW can assess your distributed workforce and their needs and implement the Intel V-Pro platform. They can configure devices powered by 11th Gen Intel Core V-Pro processors. They can accelerate digital business transformation, all without giving up a whit in performance. This new processor core architecture delivers increased overall application performance, means less time waiting, more productivity from anywhere. It's compatible with Wi-Fi 6 to prevent delays, and it's got built-in AI that accelerates apps and optimizes speed. And of course, when it comes to security, nobody beats Intel Hardware Shield, which builds in protection, detecting and preventing malware and network threats without sacrificing performance. And with vPro remote manageability, cloud-based or hardware-based management for IT leaders, consistent features across notebooks, desktops, and workstations within a business. For increased performance and security, trust Intel and IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Learn more at cdw.com/Intel Client. That's cdw.com/Intel Client. We thank CDW and Intel for supporting Windows Weekly. Couldn't do it without them. All right. Let's talk about Surface. 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 The Surface Go Laptop 2 is it coming, or is it?
Supposedly. The original Surface Laptop Go shipped about, 18 months ago-ish.
So cute.
Zach Bowden, over at Windows Central says that the next version is coming soon. Same form factor. So same screen, same ports, same thickness, chassis materials, etc. There's going to be a new Sage finish in addition to platinum, ice blue, and sandstone.
Green. Don't tell Micah.
He
loves green.
It's green.
I do too. I never tested this product. I think it doesn't even have keyboard backlighting though. It's a low end kind of computer. But the new version will go from 10th gen i5 CPUs to 11th gen, so it's behind. 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of eMMC storage, but also starts at $550, which this is
nice.
kind of a netbook-ish kind of computer.
What's the performance on the Go? Is it decent? I think it's so cute.
I've not used it. Yeah, it is cute. It's probably
Really
much better on the more
keyboard.
expensive. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's soft.
This
not,
wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't think this was even designed by the Surface team, right? Wasn't this an outsourcing thing?
Oh, that's interesting.
was it?
Or maybe I'm thinking of Surface Go.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Surface Go. Right?
Well,
The
Surface. This is laptop.
Surface Go laptop.
Oh, I'm confused.
Yeah. This is the laptop.
Yeah,
version.
because I thought we were
just-
Surface Go 2, but this is Surface Laptop Go.
Laptop
Yeah,
Go.
Surface
2.
Aren't we at Surface Go 3, I think? So no wonder I'm confused.
So the Surface Go is the tablet, sort of the mini version of the
Yeah.
Surface Pro.
Okay.
Surface Laptop Go.
I didn't even know that was
mini
a
Surface
product.
Laptop. Not to
Okay.
be confused with Surface Laptop SE. Let me know if I'm
Right.
losing anyone's attention.
Now you know why I'm confused.
Yeah.
So this is not a Surface
So are we.
laptop.
It's a mini
Well,
Surface.
It's just a
laptop.
small laptop.
It's a
very
small Surface
condensed
laptop.
size laptop.
Yeah, so it's a 12.4 inch display.
12.4.
Oh, that's a good size. That's actually a nice. I mean, it's not big, but
It's okay.
If you're running Notepad, it's plenty of. It's 80 characters.
You would think, but the keyboard is a little too tight.
A little cramped.
Type comfortably on.
Oh, that's what.
It's
For
for
me,
kids,
anyway.
students. You buy it for a
Yeah.
kid in elementary
So
school.
it's not like the Go. It's not a detachable laptop.
No, it's
No,
just a
it's
laptop.
So that's why it's called a laptop Go. Okay.
Yep.
That's right.
Boy, I'm sorry. I did not understand this
No, but
Microsoft
no. Then
product
they have
line
another
at all.
They have Surface Laptop SE, which is another small laptop,
Yep.
right? Which, yeah.
Well,
That's
that one
the-
I think you
that's
can
the
only buy
Chromebook.
through education.
Yeah, that's the
programs.
Chromebook
Right.
You can't,
computer. Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
get that as a individual.
Right.
I don't think.
Yep.
Okay. I'm so confused. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It is confusing. It's confusing and stupid, but anyway, that's what we deal with. And speaking of confusing and stupid, sorry, two Surface Duo stories. So Surface Duo is the folding phone thing that Microsoft makes based on Android. There's been two versions so far. Both have received the April 2022 Android update. That went out really early this month, by the way. I don't know if anyone noticed this, but if you had a Google or a Samsung phone, it was like April 1st or April 2nd. Like the updates, there must be something going on security-wise, but the April update has gone out very quickly. So Microsoft's devices have gotten that. Basically fixes a bunch of issues, obviously the security and other updates. And then if you have been considering this newest version of Surface Duo 2 for some reason, but were put off by its very high price. Remember it starts at $14.99, I think, right?
Yeah, $1,500.
Yeah. So it's on sale now for $9.99 at the Microsoft Store in Best Buy. And I don't have anything.
You still shouldn't buy it.
Yeah,
still should not buy it.
There you go. I didn't feel qualified to say that, but once it gets down to $500.
$1,000, yeah, $500 I'd buy it. Yeah,
$1,000 is the price of a new iPhone, guys. I don't know.
You have to consider yourself kind of, it's like a Kickstarter almost, like you want to support the idea.
Yep.
You really, really love Surface, and here you go.
Yes.
Even if you do, even if you really love
Surface.
It's
Android.
not, because it runs Android, right?
Yeah. Well, but I mean, Surface is more of, I think of it more as like a hardware brand. I mean, it has the Surface look and feel. The one thing I've heard about it that seems universal is it feels, it looks high quality. Yeah.
So nice. Like when you put this thing in your hand, you're like, this is a beautiful device. Yeah. It's beautiful. Then you open it and you try to use it and you're like, no, it's not ready.
It's the supermodel of phones.
Yeah.
It looks good. And you're like, oh, that's too bad she talked.
I know there are people who love it. There are people who love it and who have made it their device, but I just still find it confusing.
Yeah.
Maybe that says more about me than the device.
And I bet those people would love to put the taskbar on the side of the screen. You know what I'm saying?
They would. It's that same group.
That same group, those people. Those thinking differently people.
All right, Mary Jo Foley, don't tell Sriracha, but Paul's going to take over now for about half an hour.
Shh. I could do this one in half a minute.
No, please.
So Halo Infinite finally Halo Infinite finally launched late last year, in November, I guess. And one of the things they're doing is, like they do with other big games like this that are competitive online, is they're going to have this notion of seasons. And so every season is going to add features to the game. It will add maps. It will add, different play modes, weapons, et cetera, et cetera. So the plan from day one was we, meaning Microsoft, or 343, is going to do a new season every 3 months. But because this thing came in really hot, and by the way, it will be coming in really hot for the next year, the first season was going to be delayed 3 months. So the second season, rather. So the second season of Halo Infinite was not going to start until 6 months after the launch, which is May. And Microsoft revealed this past week that is happening. It's going to deliver that thing on May 3rd. It's not going to have all of the things they promised originally, which, of course, because Halo Infinite. And then there are these further out bits that will be coming at some point in the next year. Campaign co-op, which is probably one of the big ones, actually. Forge is huge. Forge is the map editor. And then, of course, Season 3, which will be coming 3 months later. So whatever that is, August. Halo Infinite Season 2 is called Lone Wolves. New playlists, balance changes, new play modes, including Last Spartan Standing, which is a free-for-all elimination mode, Land Grab, and an updated version of King of the Hill, which is like a longtime Halo favorite. New maps, Catalysts, and Breaker. And we'll know more soon. But May 3rd is the date. So if you are a Halo Infinite fan, stay tuned. This is coming. I would have done this one as a tip, but I had 2 app picks, so I decided to divide this up a little differently. But Microsoft kicked off its Xbox Spring Sale the other day. This is one of several sales they have over the course of the year. But this is a big one because some of these games are actually up to 80% off. Most of them are not, of course. But, Cyberpunk 2077 is 50% off. Call of Duty Vanguard, which is the latest version, 35% off. Destiny 2, Witch Queen, 20% off. FIFA 22, 60% off, etc. So head over to the Xbox.com and check this out if you're in the market for a new game, because you might find that it is significantly cheaper now than it had been just a few days ago. So there you go. I'm sorry I don't have more, Mary Jo.
Boy, I was hoping for more.
Yeah.
It's been a quiet couple weeks
Yeah,
besides
it really
that one
has.
Windows
Yeah.
event. Yeah.
You say here, and I don't know if it's aspirational or let's take some questions from our live listeners.
Right.
We could.
We could. We don't.
Leo, I
have
learned
If it's
something. I
possible.
learned something about TWiT when I did the AMA last week or the week before.
Yeah.
Which is that you can take live questions from people listening.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone who works for you ever told you this, but this is apparently a feature.
Surprise.
Oh, do you actually take live questions from?
I did.
Oh, my
That was
gosh.
yeah.
So
It was like being grilled in one of those 1950s mobster movies, but it was good.
I don't know how we should do this, to be honest with you.
Well, we could just do it through Discord.
We've done it in Discord.
You know, we're in
before.
Discord right now,
Yeah.
and if anybody in this good-looking bunch of people has anything they want to ask, I don't know how do we do this, Anthony? Do they raise their hands? It's been so long
He said
since I did it.
open mic. He says open mic.
Open mic.
No, I don't think open mic night is exactly what we were looking for, but
No.
I have a comedy routine I'd like to do.
yep. Just
What about
I'm
a
trying this out of
stage?
my family.
Open
A
mic.
stage.
What does
You've
he
done a
mean by
stage
open mic?
before.
What does he mean? What does he mean? Why didn't we've done this before? I don't know why I'm having a hard time remembering, because we've changed
said,
how we do
"John,
it.
John needs to add the open mic channel or a Discord.
Oh, I
stage.
can do that. I have it here.
Yeah.
Okay, I got the mic open. Now what? Anybody wants to say something? Disco Fuzz, Doug M, Echo Relay, EM, Freddie. Go on, say something. Mashed potato, Fresh Pete, Hop Knife, Jano G, Jeff, Kolaki.
What?
It's Skype 4 now? No, it says Discord PC. Should I do Discord PC or Skype 4? Wojo, Savage, Jeff. None of them are saying anything anyway. Doesn't really matter, John. Let me think if I have a question. They're all shy. They're all very shy. Nobody's unmuted their microphones. We could take them. We don't have to take live questions. I mean, they could be live, but they could be textual.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. IRC can ask too, you know. Just Robot says, I can't remember what my question could be. Nice. Very nice.
Yep.
Well, we can't help either with that,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Will Microsoft ever get their acts together? Asks Dwindle. I don't know what he means by that.
the answer is no.
We were trying to fill some time, not infinite time.
And if they did, we wouldn't have a job anymore. So it's good.
Well,
that they don't.
okay. To be fair, Microsoft probably has its act better together now than at any time. It's
I
just
think
that
so, yes.
that doesn't involve
Yeah.
us.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, true.
Yes. I honestly do think Microsoft has their act together.
Yeah, as a
I
company,
do.
for sure.
It's a very different
I do
company.
sometimes, and then something happens that makes me say, "Oh no, actually no."
Well, they're different departments. Some departments have their act more together than others.
That is true. That is true.
And you deal with the communications aspect of it. And I have to say,
Yeah.
Microsoft's communications is
brutal.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't know that because they don't talk to me, but just judging from what you all
it's true.
say. But I would say, you know, I mean, you know where their act is together is Azure in the cloud.
Yeah.
More together,
And
there
that's a fake it till you make it situation right there, right? They've been talking up cloud computing forever.
Mm-hmm.
And now they are, I mean, they're not number one really anywhere, but they're a solid number two, not a distant number two. I mean, they're a solid number two. And that business is humongous. And it touches almost
Right.
everything Microsoft does. except for the part I care about. So, although I guess Windows 365 gets it.
Right. I was going to just say that. I'm like, except for virtualization, which you care about.
Right. Yep.
Here's a good one from our Discord. Dwindle was in the IRC. This is from the Discord. King Wing 27. Will Microsoft ever release the Neo? I saw an interesting article. I can't remember. Was it ours? Somewhere saying, they should just put Android on the Neo and put it out instead of.
Oof.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, the contrary argument would be they should just put Windows 11 on it and put it out. And, what does that look like? And, they're adding a lot of tablet-y features to Windows 11. Is that what they're working toward?
Well, I guess the premise was it was intended for X, right?
That's right. 10X, yeah.
And without X,
So
with
Neo,
your Neo,
for people who forgot, Neo's a dual screen Windows device that we actually saw a prototype of back in 2019, right?
Is that what it was? I don't know.
I think the problem now is, the component shortage, right? Like, if you were going to make Neo now, you'd need to have 2 custom pieces of glass, unless they change what that device looks like. There's also been speculation that they might just jump to a foldable and skip the dual screen, but I feel like that's kind of out of character for the Surface team because they love hinges so much, right?
Right. We've seen a couple of interesting PC designs with foldable displays that could show what's and actually Neo had something very much like the ThinkPad Fold, where it's what do you call it? A hinge device, not 2 screens, like you said, but you could put a physical keyboard over one of the screens and use it like a small clamshell
tablet.
Yeah, and you could use it like a tablet. So I mean, these things. Maybe I will say, for whatever it's worth, I don't think the Duo makes a ton of sense. But when I think about dual screen devices or folding devices, the smartphone form factor makes more sense to me than a PC form factor. Just from a size perspective, because at least that thing you can put it in your pocket, and you take it out, and you have a bigger screen. It's kind of an interesting idea. A 2-screen device where you're covering one of the screens to use as a keyboard.
Yeah.
We just talked about a 12.4-inch display. This thing, that orientation must be 9 inches or 10 or is some tiny. It would be really hard to type on a keyboard like that.
It would be. Yeah. I don't know. Like I keep going back and forth. Are they going to do more Android devices? And I think sometimes yes is the answer because they just moved that whole Android team under Panos that's dealing with Android hardware type things, which makes me think it can't just be the Duo. That can't be the only thing they're working on, right? What if Microsoft did make a Surface Android tablet? They could, I guess.
They could make a Surface Pro type device. Those things exist in the Android / Chromebook world. I mean, Windows 11 SE points to a sort of 10X type system that might make sense on something like that. Although that's specifically designed for education, obviously. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to give credit where credit's due. It was Daniel Rubino's article in Windows Central. He was on TWiT on Sunday. Should have asked him about this. He says, Windows 11, this is the issue, is not great as a tablet OS. Right. And, of course, as of right now, there are no features in Windows 11 that leverage dual or foldable displays.
Right.
So he says, in short, while I find foldable PCs curious, my X1 Fold experience has left me skeptical of its usefulness as a laptop replacement.
Yeah,
so
me too.
That's why he's thinking Neo should be, forget desktop, it should be Android, it should be mobile.
Yep. But then you run into, so there's weirdness there, right? So at a certain screen size, you have to pay for Microsoft 365 to use the Microsoft Android apps, full featured. I don't know. It gets into a weird area. I'm not against Microsoft doing more Android devices, by the way. It's not that. In some ways, Android does make more sense on a tablet, even though Android doesn't make a lot of sense for tablets compared to iPad. But I mean, compared to Windows, I mean, I guess it's definitely a step up in some ways.
There's also this message from the Minot Air Force Base in the 91st Missile Security Forces Squadron. I'm not sure what he's trying to tell us here. But Specialist KC, thank you for your service And I hope you survive the whatever. They're in charge of the Minuteman missiles. So I hope
that's one way to fall asleep.
maybe he's trying to stay awake. Maybe that's what's going on there. There are a lot of questions of the ilk of, what's up with this? What's going on with Xbox or games? Or how about HoloLens? We were talking a little bit about that on Sunday on TWiT as well. Web 9708 IRC says, HoloLens 3 still dead?
I feel HoloLens, I feel like has evolved, for lack of a better term, into a different kind of a product. They've seen some success with vertical markets.
Daniel was saying that the Army deal might be a little sketch right now. That they may not be.
Yeah, and one of the big, maybe the biggest vertical market is the military, right, in the Pentagon or whatever, and that's not been going great. And we know there are stories about half the team leaving, and some really high-profile talent like Don Box have left the building. So, it's a good question.
Yeah, the rumors are that they are working on a consumer version, but with Samsung as the hardware maker, not themselves.
Right.
So I guess, they definitely want to stay in the AR, XR, mixed reality space. If you look at their job site, there's lots of jobs open that talk about mixed reality. You're starting to see things like metaverse and NFT references creep into those job postings, which is a little worrisome to me. But, they have to do what everybody else is doing. Like, Meta's coming out with glasses for that. So Microsoft's got to do something. I think HoloLens is just going to become a work-focused product only. And they're just going to abandon the idea of making it a consumer product and try something different. Maybe with Samsung, maybe without them in the consumer space. Well,
Samsung was one of the few partners that followed them down that Windows mixed reality path, right? HP was maybe the other big one. Actually, Acer made a headset. But I bet those things have dropped off. Obviously, Windows mixed reality didn't go anywhere.
No.
So maybe there's a future version of that mixes in more of the AR stuff, more of the HoloLens tech. And Samsung, I don't know why Samsung would want to take a chance on that, but
yeah,
they're making a pretty big PC push though these days. This year, last year, seen a lot of Samsung movement in the PC space, and they make gorgeous hardware and then lots of crapware, but Samsung, whatever. But I don't know.
I know.
Mary Jo, what floor are you on? What floor is your apartment on? How did we hear traffic?
It's like, you can always hear traffic in my apartment. Yeah.
Oh,
there's some good questions in the Discord that I like.
Okay, take some.
Okay, John Gerard. Is Microsoft ever going to do an IoT or light version of Windows? He has two 32 gig tablets. He'd like to use them, but he can't even update the full Windows on them because Windows won't update via an SD card. So there used to be embedded versions of Windows, but those have kind of gone away. Like there's still something called Windows 11.
Aren't they still running in every
Enterprise?
ATM in the nation?
Yeah.
But it's the
They're
old
running OS 2.
It's the old.
Right,
Yeah, like the thing that's called Windows 11 IoT Enterprise, that's not even really a light version of Windows. It's just a version of Windows that's it used to be, but it's more like customized for very specific use cases, and not what you're talking about.
I think the ARM stuff might be
the closest,
almost taking over for that. Yeah, because
me too.
In the Windows 7 timeframe, Windows 7 was obviously just x86, x64.
Yeah.
But they had ARM versions of Windows embedded, whatever the names were. I think embedded was in the names. And then, of course, with Windows 8, they started talking about Windows on ARM, the first, gen, right, with Windows RT. But now that one of the goals with Windows 10, and I would imagine Windows 11, is to have this new version of Windows on ARM run on as many chipsets as possible. And in fact, last week we learned about a Windows Server implementation in the data center that's running on a different flavor of ARM. So maybe, there was a Windows 10 embedded variant that ran on the Raspberry Pi. Right. This was for single tasking. There was no UI. It was not like you didn't get a desktop or anything, but
Right.
I mean, this stuff. I just feel this might be a little bit like the voice assistant stuff. As the smart home market moves toward this Matter thing and the standards, and it's going to work across Amazon Alexa. It's going to work with Apple Siri. It's going to work with Samsung Smart Things, and that's the end of that sentence, right? So Cortana's it's over. That dream, that thing has kind of sailed. I sort of feel like the IoT hardware market has likewise gone in that direction, where it's kind of non-Microsoft. What was that? Remember the Microsoft came up with a Linux-based, we haven't heard about this in forever, Linux-based microkernel operating system for smart switches. Does that sound familiar? Remember this? This is from Build 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, it's funny. So you're anticipating a question here from Pedant Deer. Okay. What do you think the chances that Microsoft moves to a Microsoft Linux distribution and Android as a thin client platform for Azure-driven services, and a move to cut costs and focus on services while dropping the heat that platforms are going to get from regulators? So there is a Microsoft Linux distro. It's called CBL, Mariner CBL.
But that's not what I was thinking of.
Okay.
Right?
So that one is just for Microsoft internal use. They've said they have no intentions of making that a publicly available distro. It's just things they build products around themselves and use inside their own products. Will there ever be a Microsoft Linux like for customers?
No, there won't. No. And the reason is, and you can say this definitively because Microsoft probably would love Google, but Google hates Microsoft. And when you look at the kind of Android integration stuff that's going on the desktop, Microsoft and Google do not work together on any of that.
Yeah.
And Microsoft cannot risk running its platform based on Android, right? Its main platform.
Yeah.
It just can't. And the whole, for all the stupid things that are going on with Windows 11, Windows 11 runs Windows apps. That's job one. And that situation is dicey on Linux today, and would require Microsoft to create some kind of a software layer that not just run Win32 apps, but all of the frameworks and .NET and everything else that goes on top of it. It's just too. It would have to be a fresh from scratch kind of a thing.
I don't know what the market would be. I mean, WSL is, for want of a better term, Windows Linux.
Yep. Right. But that's on Windows. In other words, he's saying
but I don't think that I don't know. Is it Microsoft's interest to say, your next PC should not run Windows?
Well,
it would be for the server. Maybe
I think it's just too complex. I just don't think there's any way out of it. You could look at could there be a Hyper-V architecture?
They had a Unix. They had a Unix.
They had Midori too. Remember, that wasn't based on Windows.
But what was the thing? It was an Azure Sphere.
Azure Sphere runs on Linux.
It's Linux, right? But it's like a microkernel thing for IoT.
I think it's Mariner, isn't it? Mariner CBL, isn't it? Isn't
that's
it
the same thing?
Distribution? I thought so.
Oh,
I'm not 100% sure.
I don't remember. I just don't. I don't see it replacing Windows at Microsoft, I guess is the short version.
They let you run Linux on Azure. In fact, more than 50% of the workloads on Azure are Linux, right?
Right. Right.
And they had Xenix for a long time.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. I haven't heard that term in a while.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
That was really.
That was Unix.
Yeah.
That was
Unix.
That was Unix. Yeah. Back when Unix really mattered.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Well, now it's Linux now. I mean,
right.
It's not Unix. You don't see, a lot of AUX out in the world.
Did they learn a lesson from Xenix? I mean, we'll never do that again, or
no, that was just so long ago. I don't think that impacts anybody today. I just don't see. I mean, look, one of the points of Windows 365 is that you have that accessibility through the cloud to not just a Windows environment, to very specific apps that you might need. And those things will run on whatever hardware or whatever you have. So there's no reason that can't work. And sure, it does work on Linux through a web browser, that kind of thing. I mean, but that's not, how does that?
Yeah.
I don't know. That just doesn't address normal people, right? Not yet.
Yeah.
And
so Azure Sphere OS is its own variant of Linux that
Okay.
runs
And that's
on
what I was thinking about, right?
microcontroller. Yeah.
Microcontroller.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So they've done a lot of things dabbling around the edges of Linux, especially now that they're no longer, considering Linux as a hostile thing, and they've got developers in the company contributing to open source and such. But yeah.
Think about like Windows 10X, right? Windows 10X could have made sense. This was a container-based architecture where they were going to have a Win32 container. So when you did need backwards compatibility, which most people would on a real computer especially, this thing would fire up and it would be even better than normal, assuming it worked, because these things would be isolated. This is like an architecture that made some sense. They couldn't get it together, and I don't think they're going to even try anymore, but they tried and it made sense theoretically. Now think about, you're going to start over again with Linux now, and it's like, well, hold on a second. Like what? Like what? I mean, I suppose there's a container, like I said earlier, Hyper-V based solution where the main OS is Linux, and then you can do backward compatibility. We'll just call it through a Win32 container, for lack of a better term. But it's just, why though? Like why?
Yeah.
It just seems like a lot of work for very little gain, and I just don't see it happening. I guess I don't know.
We tried. We tried.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions you want to do, Mary Jo?
I kind of like this one too, although it's something that takes a little thought. What's this? This is Robson JBL or 1. What's the single biggest mistake Microsoft has made in the past 20 years?
Oh, what do you
There's
think?
so
it is?
many.
I know. How do you even choose? It's like choosing your favorite child.
It is.
Aside from the Kin phone.
No, you know what I would
by the way,
have to
the
say?
Kin phone was
not
fine.
a mistake.
It was Verizon.
The mistake was killing
Verizon
it.
Screwed that up.
Yeah, right.
The mistake was how they worked with Verizon, and Verizon really
Verizon priced it with a full data plan.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That was a great little phone.
I would say, and maybe it's just because it's still a fresh wound. What they did with Windows 8 almost completely derailed the company.
I am going to read something to you. I can't believe you just said that.
I feel like if somehow that had gone unchecked, Microsoft may not have survived because it was like one mistake after another, and they just kept trying to back the play. And finally they realized, like, we're going to lose our entire customer base and many of our good employees who can't stand working with the current Windows team. And I think that was a huge mistake to just let that run unchecked.
So I thought I hadn't published this yet, but actually I put this up today. But this is the line I wrote to that. That Windows 8 was a cataclysmic failure, widely regarded by many inside and outside of Microsoft as the single worst thing that has ever happened to Windows. That it came from within and was easily avoidable is incredible. And I mean, just keeping it into like our world with Windows. This came up earlier in the show, like Microsoft's overreaction to the success that Apple had and its growing Apple envy through the iPod and iTunes Store, like I said, and through the Windows Media Player stuff and Zune and the Vista ads that Apple was making fun of and all that stuff. The iPhone happened and then the iPad happened, and I think they just went insane. I think they lost it. And there's a story that I don't think actually happened, but Steven Sinofsky went to CES that one year, and he called his team. And he says, "You got to come out here. Everyone's touching the screens." And he's like, the screens all over CES, and you can see fingerprints on all of them. He's like, everyone expects to touch screens. We got to do this to Windows, Yeah. And I just don't. I don't agree with what Apple has done by segregating non-touch and touch. You can have a Mac if you want a computer, but you can't touch it. But you can have an iPad, and you can have some computer stuff, but you can touch that one. I think there's some logical, like multi-touch, like the pen, smart pen, handwriting recognition stuff is like additive, and it makes some sense. But they went insane in Windows 8, and they did it at the worst possible time. Yeah. And all the PC Maker literally every single PC Maker partner on Earth adopted Chrome OS in that time period. Some of them had already done it, but I feel like they had.
Right. I feel like they had so many people on every side telling them not to do Windows 8 the way they had envisioned it.
Yep.
Like the press, partners, customers, every focus group, like people inside the company saying we're going off the rails, and they still did it. I feel like, how did you guys let that happen?
if you know everything about Windows 8, other than the fact that it was going to be full screen Play School style UIs on top of this powerful desktop system that you could not get rid of, if you looked at everything else they did with Windows 8, you would have said, oh my God, yeah, that sounds awesome. And that's what they showed partners. They didn't show them the insane stuff. And by the time it came out, everyone was like, wait, what are you doing? Like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
And and by the way, there's so many mistakes there. They had Windows Phone already. How do you not base the app how do you not make it the same app platform? You made something that looks sort of like it, but wasn't the same? Are you insane? Like, it was just so stupid. And by the way, this was the time they were like, hey, here's another idea. Remember how Windows got really successful because we had all these partners and everything? Let's compete with them and we'll make our own hardware now too. Nuts. Like, just nuts.
Right.
And look, I know a lot of people listening love Surface, and I actually like Surface too. But you know what? Sorry. Strategically, that was a stupid mistake. They really alienated a lot of important partners at that time. Really big mistake.
But you know what? I feel like the partners now, like a lot of OEMs were sounding the alarm when Microsoft first said they were going to make their own hardware. And you don't really hear those concerns anymore. I think because they saw like, yeah, they're making hardware, but it's kind of a niche. And like,
and they've had so many problems. Every time there's a reliability problem with Surface, those guys are just laughing and laughing.
Yeah.
We've been telling you this for years. You don't listen. That was one of the things like Sinofsky invented. Sinofsky hired Acer to build like a little tablet PC thing they gave away, remember, at one build. They worked with Samsung to build a tablet PC so people could test Windows 8. And they were like, surprise, you probably didn't figure it out, but we're making our own hardware. And you're like, why? Like, what is this thing? But, and there we are. I mean,
I'm kind of not really answering a question somebody asked, but this got me thinking about this. If Microsoft had ended up buying Yahoo, which they almost did more than 10 years ago, I would say that would have been their biggest mistake of all mistakes.
How much was that? Like, it was like $50 billion, right?
$50 billion, right, or so.
Something like that. Horrific.
Yeah. So at the last minute, that deal didn't happen for a variety of reasons, but that could have been their worst mistake.
I may still write about the Yahoo thing. I saved, as I went through their press, because I'm, mental. I've been going through every one of their press releases over every year they've been in existence. And when you get to the Yahoo stuff, it's really interesting. They issued announcements about it every few weeks. Like, it went on for months and months. And then then for the next 2 years, it still happened. Every 4, maybe 6 months, they'd come out and say something about Yahoo. And do you know what that always ended up at? Do you remember this? They actually had a search deal with Yahoo. That was the culmination. After 2+ years, a promised $50 billion,
Carol
whatever.
Bartz, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah. Carol
Bartz.
Bartz? Was it Carol Bartz?
Carol Bartz, I think.
Was she running Yahoo?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I thought
briefly
she
did. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she did before Marissa Meyer.
I'm not sure who was running Yahoo when this was going on.
Yeah, I think she was the one who Ballmer was dealing with around Yahoo.
Because she used to be at Adobe, and I think you're right. I think she was running.
And she went to eBay. Wasn't she eBay?
Oh, eBay. That's right. And she was president and CEO of Yahoo.
Yeah.
Let me
see if I can find.
So Jerry Yang was one of the co-founders.
2009 through 2011.
Yep, that was the timing, I think.
Yeah, that was okay. He was still involved, and he was really against this. I don't remember.
Autodesk. She was at Autodesk. That's right. Then Yahoo. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, after all this work, millions and billions of dollars, they eventually did a search deal with Yahoo, where Yahoo and Bing integrated their search results on Yahoo.com, and then I think Yahoo might have provided some back-end search stuff for Bing on Bing.com, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't really looked that deeply into it, but it's like all that stuff, and it's like nothing came out of that. Thank God. Yeah, that would have been a terrific disaster. Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. But that's what happens though. Microsoft is this constant series of reactions to things. Yeah. And only Microsoft, like at a time when Yahoo was circling the drain, would be like, we need online services. They have online services. It's like, let's buy a music service. What's MySpace doing these days? Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Back when they wanted to do this, it was crazy.
Yeah.
This was not like Yahoo was not riding a wave at the time, guys. Like this was Yahoo was over.
Yeah.
Insane. I wish I could remember.
I want to try this. I have a feeling there's going to be massive feedback. But
Okay.
EM wants to ask a question there's a room called Open Mic. So I'm going to open the open mic and I got it, John. I know. Oh, go ahead, EM. Say something. I do have Skype. There it is. Say. John didn't think I knew what I was doing. Hi, EM.
Hey, how you doing? I just kind of going back to Paul was talking a while back about that low-powered ARM PC, and I know this is not Raspberry Pi Weekly, but I mess around with these devices.
That's a good idea for a show, though. I have to say.
It is.
And given that those ARM devices are pretty low-powered. And it's probably not a great Windows PC, as you suggested. Do you think that this could be something they could run more open source software like Raspberry Pi or something like that, where you can do more smart home automation stuff?
Before we answer that, though, are you wearing Surface headphones, EM?
No, these are Bose.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Those are in
credibility, Leo.
I mean, look, grab my Surface ones.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
You can't even buy Raspberry Pi devices now because of the components.
Yeah, that's right.
Stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
But the highest end, most recent was it Raspberry Pi 4, probably with 8 gigs of RAM. Probably is a decent desktop experience, right? Running whatever Linux, Raspberry Pi, whatever it is. But I think something like that would make a lot more sense than a Windows on ARM 7C based thing today.
Yeah, absolutely.
That might change. But
if you could get one. That's the real issue. I agree.
Yeah, it is a problem.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, EM, thank you for letting me, because I've never used the open mic. We've used it. In fact, we used it with Paul, I'm sure. But it does a weird thing on the video. You see this? It switches to whoever's talking. So
it's interesting. I tried going in here, and I was like, I can't hear any sound.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I don't know. Can I right click and pin? I don't know. No. It's interesting. It's just the open mic window is reflecting who's talking.
Right. That's funny.
And when EM talks.
I actually didn't do anything like this. Ant was reading the questions, but it was like a live interaction.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you, EM, for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Next time, please wear your Surface headphones. That's all I ask.
Or, maybe just wear the ones that work the best. Actually, I think it's what he was doing.
Probably. I'm thinking probably. Hey, let's take a little break. Back of the book coming up next as we continue. I love doing audience questions. And if we can get people to do it live like EM did, that's even better. That's taking calls. I mean, I love that. EM had a good setup. He had a mic. We could hear what he was saying and all that stuff. But I would love to do more of that. EM is a member of Club TWiT, of course. But we take questions from the IRC as well, which is open to all. But Club TWiT, because we're using Discord, does let us do the audio, which is, I think, great. If you are not yet a Club TWiT member, there are going to be more reasons to join Club TWiT. I can't tell you exactly, but there's some exciting stuff coming along the way. Already, it's pretty amazing. $7 a month, ad-free versions of all of our shows. That's what we thought would be the thing. Turns out the Discord is so much fun, and it lets us do so many interesting things. Not only is it a chat for each show, but just like the IRC, but we can do other shows inside the Discord. So Paul's Ask Me Anything that he did last week. Jeff Jarvis is coming up later this week. I think it's tomorrow, actually, on Thursday. Stacy's Book Club's in there. The Untitled Linux Show every Saturday. The Giz Fizz before that. This Week in Space, because of members like you, thank you, Club TWiT members, we were able to do a show, launch it inside Club TWiT, get it to a certain level of audience, and then put it out in public. I think we're going to do more stuff in Club TWiT only. If you're not a member, this is a great time to join. $7 a month. It's month to month. You can cancel anytime. twit.tv/Club TWiT. Paul, I also want to plug our cruise, as long as we're doing the Plug Fest, because A number of people, I think probably because maybe of COVID or whatever, I think we have more spaces. A number of people canceled. So we have 100 people going on this TWiT cruise to Alaska, along with me and Paul. And then I think what you said, Rob Campbell's? Raphael's coming.
Richard Campbell.
Richard Campbell. Rob's in our Discord. He might be coming if I can talk him into it. But that's really cool. And there are some openings, I'm told, due to a few cancellations. So last chance maybe, but please go to cruise.twit.tv. We're doing this in July. The details are on the website. And Lisa says she's getting emails from people saying, what excursions are you going to take? So we are going to, Lisa and I have to sit down and do that. Yep. And then we will post that as well so we can, I think one of the things Lisa wants to do is some photo walks.
I can tell you what I don't want to do is anything that involves ropes and climbing up the side of a glacier.
She said no helicopters because there's one.
I really want to do a helicopter.
I know, and there's one where you helicopter out to a glacier and then mush huskies.
Oh no, not that one.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway,
I do want to go to a glacier. You know, while there are still glaciers.
While there's a glacier, this is your last chance, not only to book the cruise but to see a glacier. July 16th to the 23rd, if you're interested. Cruise.twit.tv. And there, I don't know which rooms are still available, but there are a variety of prices. There's some very affordable rooms. It's going to be, we start in Seattle, we go up to Alaska, we come back down. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I have put together an audio recording kit to bring with me, so we might do some special podcasts on the boat as well. So that's a couple of plugs there. Now a mention of our sponsor, Collide, which is a great service. This, to me, this is the future of IT. You know, I mean, a lot of IT people have already tried this idea where we're going to lock down everything. We're using MDM. You know, yes, it's bring your own device, but if you've got an endpoint on our network, we're going to lock it down and we're going to put glue in the USB ports and, you know. And I think a lot of IT people have learned, professionals have learned, that if you don't get your users involved, if you don't get their buy-in, you're fighting an uphill battle. I mean, the worst case scenario, you lock down their laptop too much and then just use their laptop. Get it infected, bring it in, you know, you've completely lost control. Collide is a new take on endpoint management that's all about getting end users more involved. It's built by security practitioners who in the past saw exactly how much MDM was disrupting end users, and you know the consequences of them just throwing up their hands and using their own personal laptop and not telling anyone, which is I think you could agree probably the worst case scenario. Collide's different. KOLIDE. If you use Slack as we do in our enterprise, it's so cool. It's a user-focused approach that communicates security recommendations to your employees through their Slack. So, in fact, they even are enrolled in the process from the very beginning because they install Collide themselves. You know, they install the endpoint agent on their own. That's how it starts. And then if they do things like, they turn on, screen lock, but they don't have a password on it, Collide will say in a Slack message, I should show you because it's really cool. They'll say in a Slack message, hey, I see you turned on screen lock, but somebody can still use your computer. You've got to set a password. That kind of thing. I think it's really a very interesting take on endpoint management. Here's a Collide Slack. It looks like you have 2 Salesforce customer data exports that have been sitting in your download folder for more than 14 days. Here's those files, and here's what to do. And then there's a button. I fixed it. Check again. It's little things like that. I think it's just really fascinating, and it makes a lot of sense to me. So, from there, once you've got Collide installed, it regularly sends employees recommendations when their device is insecure. Here's one. Windows firewall disabled. Why is this a problem? They explain it, tell you how to fix it. Find my Mac disabled. Why is this a problem? They come right in the Slack. So it's talking directly to employees, educating them about the company's policies and how to keep their devices secure using real examples, not theoretical scenarios. It's a really brilliant idea. Cross-platform endpoint management, Windows, of course, but also Mac and Linux, puts the end users first. And I know sometimes IT people say, well, I'm not going to put the end users first. But I think by now we all understand why End users have to participate in this process, or it's a win. It's a no-win for anybody. Get endpoint management that puts the user first. KOLIDE, collide.com/WW. You can learn more. Activate a free 14-day trial. No credit card required. Collide.com/WW. You can also right now get a goodie bag of Collide swag after signing up for that trial as a way of saying thank you. Honestly, this seems so right to me. Collide, KOLIDE.com/WW. We thank them so much for their support of Windows Weekly. All right, enough plugging. Let's get back to the back of the book. And Paul Thurrott with an app pick to start us off this week.
Now I'll do some plugging of my own.
Do your own
plug
plug-in.
This one until everyone has it. Start 11. I know we keep talking about it, but version
Did Brad
1.2
Sams
is out.
pay you to say this?
No. In fact, he forgot to even tell me this one was released, just so you know where this is coming from.
Good.
This version adds the ability to resize the taskbar, a feature that's not available in Windows 11. Advanced multi-monitor support, so you can define Windows grouping, which is another feature it has that Windows 11 doesn't have. Cross primary and secondary displays. And you can ungroup items on the taskbar in centered or left-aligned modes. It's not perfect. They're improving it as well as, alongside Windows 11, but it is such a dramatic improvement over what's available in Windows 11. I think for a lot of people coming from Windows 10, it's just you just got to do this. Someone had asked us about this, I think, earlier. Do we ever think they're going to get their act together with regards to this? No, I don't think they are, Microsoft. But I think Starduck is, and so this will preserve some sanity. It'll be the best $6 you ever spend.
Yeah,
no, I don't get paid.
They do a great job. Honestly, I agree.
They really do.
Yeah.
This second pick, I have a second app pick, is going to seem like a strange one at first because it's about a new web browser on the Mac. But this is DuckDuckGo. And so the DuckDuckGo mobile app on Android and iOS and on iPad, I suppose, is the privacy protection, all that stuff you want. And now they're bringing it to desktop as well, starting with the Mac. So the Windows version is coming soon. The Mac version is out now in beta. It's a wait list, so you actually have to, sign into a list and hope that you get it. And it's not perfect. It doesn't have 100% of everything you want in a web browser. It doesn't have extensions, for example. But if you're familiar with this product on mobile, this is the type of thing you might actually kind of want to check out. Privacy-based search engine, tracker blocker, cookie pop-up protection. It's got that awesome fire button thing, right, for instant cleaning of all your data. Email protection. It's free. So this is, right away, it's not going to be perfect.
Well, here's the thing. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So they're going to do a Windows version, by the way.
Yep.
This version is built on WebKit because it's on Mac.
Because that's right.
And that's why you don't have extensions, because Apple doesn't allow it. They have a weird platform. But you would get all of the capabilities of Safari without any of the with tracking
it does the
protection.
basics too.
Yeah.
This is, password management, tab management, bookmarks, all that.
So I don't know. I don't know if the Windows version will be WebKit. It could be.
Yeah,
or maybe it'll be Chromium. I don't know.
Or Chromium, I bet. Yeah. So they say they're working on a system to provide extensions in the future. But for now, it does not have extensions. So
WebKit's
there are definitely extensions I would want to use. But I would say the most important extensions that I do use are, in fact, based around tracking protection, the stuff that's kind of just built into this. So just something to keep your eye on. If you do have a Mac as well, definitely get on the list and try to check this out. I'm very, very interested. I feel like something like this is necessary on desktop and is something, frankly, Microsoft and Apple should be building themselves.
It's what Edge could have been.
Yeah, exactly.
Could have been.
Yeah, they have other concerns, Leo, and they don't
other priorities.
Don't involve your privacy.
Yeah. Enterprise time. Mary Jo Foley has our pick of the week.
Right. So I mentioned this in passing last week when we were talking about the Windows Powers the Hybrid Future event. There's a thing out called Windows Auto Patch, and we didn't have a lot of details about it when the event happened. But since that time, Microsoft published on their tech community site, which is techcommunity.microsoft.com, a Windows Auto Patch FAQ. So if you go to Tech Community, techcommunity.microsoft.com, and search for the Windows Auto Patch FAQ, you too can find this, and everything you want to know is right here. All the things that we wish we would have known before the event. So this is going to be released in July 2022. If you know what Windows Update for Business is, this is pretty much like the next version of that. It's got the prerequisites here. So you obviously need Azure Active Directory, you need Intune, you need Windows 10 or 11, you need Config Manager version 2010 or later. There's a lot of prerequisites. But the idea is if you use this service, it'll automatically apply patches for your users if you're an IT pro. There's a whole set of rings that it deals with so that it rolls out the patches to a small subset of users that you designate first to make sure that they're going to work in your organization, then larger. And there's a whole things like what happens if there's a problem with the update? How does it work? So if you're somebody who is intrigued by the idea of automatic patching in Windows, you should go find this FAQ and study it because your answers will be there.
And good news, reset not required.
Yes. How about that?
Yeah. Wow.
Well, it doesn't sound very powerful then, does it?
How powerful could it be?
I guess it's nothing then, right?
Steve Gibson was having so much fun with all the rings. There's like 6 rings now. There's a huge number of rings.
There are. Yep. Yep.
All right. And moving along, our code name pick of the week.
So this is funny that this came in as the code name. So somebody sent me this week. A tipster who goes by the name Awkward Swine, because of course he does.
Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a pig, but okay.
Yes, exactly. So the thing we were mentioning earlier in the show that requires the reset, this feature called Smart App Control. Awkward Swine says, the code name of this feature is Night's Watch.
I love it.
NIGHT apostrophe watch. This is funny because I heard this code name years ago. I feel like I was always trying to figure out what this was. And he said, yes, indeed, the code name has been around even before this feature was released, well before. And here's how he described it. The codename is a reference to the vigilant watchers on the wall guarding Westeros. Is that how you say it?
Yep.
From the undead White Walkers from the north.
Yes.
Or cleverly disguised malware that Windows users unknowingly
Do you know what that's from,
install.
though, Mary Jo? Where
I had
is
to look
Westeros?
it up. I looked it up. I had no idea where that was from.
Are you going to take the black, Mary Jo? You have
yes.
She's going to join the Night's Watch.
I'm looking for. I don't mind the Night's Watch thing, but I would like it to be in a warmer place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wall's a little chilly, a little cold.
You know what's funny? Let's bash the Windows 8 time thing one more time. Remember they wanted to do away with cool code names? Look at this code name. It's so cool. Like, why do you want to do away with fun, cool code name?
Yeah, it's good.
Perfect code name. All right, we're going to give you a week off for the beer pick of the week, Mary Jo, because I think Stephanie's been at work again.
Yep.
She has.
Well, Mary Jo requested it. I'm going to guess you asked about this not because it is the beginning of spring, but because today feels like the beginning of spring.
Yeah, well, tomorrow here in New York, it's going to be 80.
Yeah, it was 80. It's 80 here today, and it's going to be 80 again tomorrow. Don't worry, it's going to go back down. But
yeah, well.
Yeah, so this is called Maple Splash, and she says the new crop of maple syrup should be available now in farmers markets. It's funny. That's correct, obviously. I think of maple syrup as being like related to the winter for some reason.
Yeah, because, it's when it's harvested. When the sap starts running in the spring, I guess it's a spring thing, actually.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's no doubt correct.
But you're right. I think of it as winter too.
Definitely don't use supermarket pancake syrup, especially syrup that's not really.
God, no.
But syrup is like butter. You know, we grew up eating this stuff that wasn't the real thing, and then one day you have the real thing, and you're like, my God, why did nobody tell me this existed?
Grade A maple syrup from Vermont or Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Right. So anyway, the recipe is 7 parts white rum, 4 parts maple simple, which is 50-50 split maple syrup with water, generous squeeze, oh my, of lime juice, and ginger bitters. And you combine it in a shaker, shake it up. She says serve it in a smaller glass since it's high in alcohol. That's absolutely not what we do. But also with a lemon.
For you, a small glass is a tanker.
She's being responsible for the audience, I think.
Oh, this sounds good.
Drink this at home. Don't go anywhere.
Sounds very, very good.
It does.
Wow. I'd say a grade A amber probably on this one.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow. Simple syrup with maple. Brilliant idea.
Sounds good.
Yeah. In fact, throw the water out.
Right. If you want something your spoon will stand up in, just use straight maple syrup.
7 parts rum, 4 parts maple simple syrup, lime juice, and ginger bitters. Okay, she better make this on the cruise. That's all I'm saying. I'm ready.
Well,
for
it is
that.
going to be in Canada, so it sounds
Exactly. I think it's perfect.
I thought she was doing this for the Our Place Canadian flag. Those guys. Did you see the animation of the Canadian flag? In Reddit /r/place was a very clever Reddit game where everybody got to place 1 pixel, but only every 5 minutes, and on a blank canvas. And it was incredible. And then let me see if I can find the Canadian flag animation because, well, it was kind of a battle, I think.
Yeah.
Here's the full Canadian flag video on Our Place. Remember, people are placing these pixels every 5 minutes. So there's the flag. The maple leaf is going a little crazy. And then at one point, for some reason, it turned into a banana instead of Canada. And but it's a battle going on right there between the. I
like the 8-bitness of this.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Because it's just dots, right?
Yeah.
And eventually, I think they finally did get a fairly decent maple leaf in there. The banana folks briefly took over, but gave up.
Yep. Well,
so I thought maybe Stephanie was celebrating the Canadian flag on our.
I suspect she's not aware of this.
Yeah,
but maybe.
Maybe. Look at that. Oh, the banana.
Okay.
It's there's a pickle. It's turned into a pickle.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
pickle
pickle
sighting.
now.
And now all the flags of all the nations, and then it's over. It's over.
That's funny.
So a lot of fun. Thank you, Paul Thurrott. Thank you, Mary Jo Foley. What a great show. We got some comments from listeners. We got a caller in. I love that. This is where all the dozers in all the world should gather every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific.
Someday archaeologists are going to find these episodes and have no idea why you keep mentioning dozers. I don't know what it means. We can't find
CF,
any
call her
references to
daddy,
this.
okay? And Mark Maron, WTF. That's all I'm saying. We do the show 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC of a Wednesday morn or afternoon or evening, depending on your time zone. I say that so you can watch live if you want at live.twit.tv. If you're watching live, join the community-run IRC channel. irc.twit.tv will take you there. You can do it in a web browser or an IRC client. If you're a Discord lover, well, join Club Twit. You can do the Discord thing as well. And after the fact, you can get downloadable versions of everything we do at twit.tv. In the case of this show, twit.tv/WW. Audio and video is available about 4 or 5 hours after the show. You can also watch us on YouTube again a few hours after the show, or not worry about what time it is. Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? Just get a podcast client and subscribe, and then just magically it'll appear on your device, and you can listen at your leisure or watch at your leisure. You can subscribe to the audio or the video. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. Thank you, most importantly, to Mary Jo Foley, allaboutmicrosoft.com, Paul Thurrott, Thurrott.com. Paul's book, The Field Guide to Windows 10, is at leanpub.com. And have a great week. Are you going to go out, Mary Jo, and find a beer garden somewhere and enjoy the 80-degree weather? Yeah.
For sure.
Sounds nice. Do you let Sriracha out? I guess not.
No. Too dangerous.
He can't go anywhere. He just look out the window and dream.
He does.
Yeah. Paul, you going to get warm weather too in Lower Macungie?
Yeah, it was
Township?
80 today.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
We're going to be outside tonight.
Oh, man,
Take a
you're ahead
walk.
of us.
Open the windows wide for music night.
We're usually not ahead of New York in any way, shape, or form, but in this one area, apparently.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time on Windows Weekly.
Don't miss All About Android every week. We talk about the latest news, hardware, apps, and now all the developer-y goodness happening in the Android ecosystem. I'm Jason Howell, also joined by Ron Richards, Florence Ion, and our newest co-host on the panel, Wen Tu Dao, who brings her developer chops. Really great stuff. We also invite people from all over the Android ecosystem to talk about this mobile platform we love so much. Join us every Tuesday, All About Android on TWiT.tv.